The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League is in Ellsworth, Wisconsin, and today, for the first time, we're bringing you the action from 3 classes. We're kicking off day 1 in Ellsworth with the limited Pro Stock tractors, followed by the hot rod semis, and finally, wrapping up the night with the 10,000 horsepower Super Modified tractors. The hook is set, the chain is tight, the green flag is flying, and it's time to go pulling. The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League starts now. Welcome to Ellsworth, Wisconsin with the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League. This is the Optima Batteries Curd Capital Fall Nationals presented by K&N. It's time to go truck and tractor pulling here. Ken Stout and Leslie Mears to call all the action for you. 3 classes coming your way.
So excited to be in Ellsworth, Wisconsin. This is a first-time Champions Tour event featuring a lot of amazing classes, and it's so cool that we're going to be able to showcase 3 of them here in one episode of the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League.
We'll kick things off here with our limited Pro Stock category. Tough class, full of some great pullers. Justin Wagler, the points leader, coming in. Just 3 hooks left on the season. The Real Deer has 3 consecutive wins working, has 6 consecutive podiums working, comes out here and throws 321 and 98 on the board.
And I love that Justin Wagler, his emotions are always unchanged. I mean, he's always straight-faced. He may cut up every once in a while and post a smile, but he's really all business when he's out there. And I think that that's part of the reason why he gets it done. You know, he's watching the track. He's watching them put it together in the afternoon when they're putting water in it, when they're putting it back together and they're doing that finish grade on it. And I think that's really helpful for him.
And he started off on the left side of the track, slung-shot that thing all the way across to the right, and put a big number up on the board as we take a look at the pulling order here for this afternoon.
Some interesting guys in the category here from our Badger State tractor pullers groups, being as we are in the heart of Wisconsin, way up north. And so exciting to see them contending here with the guys on our Silver Series.
Good looking 4755 John Deere here, clean as it can get. Mark Wells, and the tractor's called for a few dollars more. Second of the points coming in here. Has 1 podium so far, but has been very consistent. Wow, and he's going to miss the mark that Wagler just set by a bunch. In fact, some 50 feet. And you've got to wonder if he just chose the wrong gear and just didn't have enough ground speed to really tug that thing out there and get it where it needed to be.
And here's a look at our points with Justin Wagler and the Real Deer having a huge lead right now, with Mark Wells close behind there in for a few dollars more, and 618 Motorsports finds himself in the hunt. So really now it's a battle for 2nd through 5th here in our points chase with our limited Pro Stock tractors.
Nick Gallett's coming up here next, and the name of the tractor is called Runnin' in the Red. Leslie had a chance to speak to the driver of the International earlier today.
Nick Gallett's is driving Runnin' in the Red tonight. Nick, you told me you make really good power. So what kind of power are we talking about here with this 4.1?
Oh, a good 4.1's making in the 2400 range, some a little more, some a little less. But horsepower is not an issue in this class. It's more of hooking it down to the track.
And you said that's something that you guys are really kind of struggling with this year. You've got great power, but you can't get it quite to the ground the way you want.
It's all about hook position and tires this year, it seems. There's 3 different tires. You got the Parks pullers, Pro pullers, and Firestones. Each one has its high point. Each one has its weakness. We got a set of Firestones and Parks on tonight, so we'll see which one does better tonight.
Decent looking hook, and it's amazing to hear that these things are making in excess of 2,000 horsepower, but 299 and 12 will be well short of what he needs to compete with Justin Wagler here today.
And as you watch those tires really dig in and squat and claw their way down the track, he's moving a ton of dirt towards the buckboard of the sled and underneath the sled as well, which is going to make it harder for everyone out here because everyone's going to have those same reaction out there. Huge divots in the track. And so one thing I think our pullers, throughout the night are going to have to compensate for is the fact that the track is maybe a little bit drier. It's a lot more mealier than they expected it to be. And so they'll have to make adequate adjustments.
Kevin Engelking coming up here next. The name of the tractor is Dark Horse. And once again, Leslie had a chance to speak to him.
One thing to love about the Limited Pro class is the fact that there's so much variety, and we're seeing that yet again here this weekend with Kevin Engelking. And so, Kevin, how did you decide to build a white for this class?
Oh, I kind of grew up on Olivers, and my dad farmed with them, and as things went on, we bought some whites, and I guess I kind of fell in love with the white and the Oliver line.
I love you keeping that tradition alive, but you're a little bit different than everybody else. So talk about how your configuration varies versus the John Deeres and the International.
This particular model came from the factory with an 8.3 Cummins, which we were able to use, and the engine was actually strong enough to maybe work in the Limited Pro class, so it fit in this program pretty decent.
And of course, you're making the same power as everybody else as well.
We're all within reason, pretty close, yeah. Yep. I wouldn't say the same, but we're trying hard.
The 195 Workhorse, named the Dark Horse. Well, he comes out here and throws one down too, gets up there in the hunt at 3:14 and 25.
Yeah, and he was just really silky smooth right off the line. I love how he moved over to the left-hand side of the track, getting a little bit different hole shot out there. But that front end comes up right away on the wheelie bars just a little bit and then settles in for most of the rest of the run. So a great job here of weight placement on the Limited Pro, balancing that 9,300 pounds around all the corners of the tractor. They can put it on the belly bar out front and, of course, on the hook as well to try to get a little bit more drive into those tires. So a good job balancing the machine.
So we're off and running here with the category of Limited Pro Stock tractors. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League is brought to you by General Tire. Anywhere is possible. K&N, superior airflow, superior performance. And by Lucas Oil, made in America, sold to the world.
And the dual track here being groomed as we continue on at the Optima Batteries Curd Capital Fall Nationals presented by K&N Filters. We're covering the Limited Pro Stock tractor category here. One of three classes will feature here tonight as Jason Rosenquist comes up here next out of Minnesota, and the tractor called Gold Rush. Boy, picked that front end up and drug it down through there. Looked pretty nice, but unfortunately did not yield a big number at 273 and 13.
A little bit of cross-track action on that run as well, and had to get heavy into the brake as he was headed towards that right sideline.
Up next, another John Deere here in the category. This one called the Money Shot. And Ryan Cookber doing the driving. Wow, and again, if you showed somebody that hook, you'd say that's exactly how you want one to look as you go down through there, transferring all that weight onto those back tires. But again, it's a little short at 272 and 88.
Yeah, a good setup on the tractor, just not the gear that he needed to pull this heavy sled. It looks like once that General Tire box tops off, it's really curtains for these guys.
And you just got to love it when you come up here to this part of the country. While we have 14 people chasing points inside of this category, you'll find a ton of tractors in this category that are not chasing points, but boy, are they tough. And Tom Gallant's will burn in the running red hot machine at 293 and 76. A team tractor of Nick Gallant's, the running in the red, went 299 and 12, so a little bit short of that one.
As Nick mentioned, still trying to figure out how to get this power to the ground. But Tom, a champion in the Super Farm category before they switched over to 4-1. And he also told me earlier in the day that they're not getting the laps in that they need to really line out the tractor. You know, they've been really busy at work, and so trying to really get it dialed in for next year here at the end of the season.
And they also mentioned a couple different sets of tires, so I wonder if they learned a little something there on the team tractors tonight as well. So that'll wrap it up here for the Limited Pro Stock Tractor category. And as you can see there, Justin Wagler really handing one down here as he continues on an amazing streak of wins to stretch it out and make it 4 consecutive. What a great effort. Let's go down and talk to him.
It's Justin Wagler one more time on top of the podium here in the Limited Pro Stock category, and it's almost like can't stop, won't stop the real deal once she gets out on the track. You guys have just really put together a package that nobody can really come close to this year.
There's a lot of people I need to thank. Jay, for starters, he's with me every pull and helps me set the tractor up. Without him, I wouldn't be able to do what I do out there. Marlette Engines and Dyno, all of our parts suppliers, you guys, Lucas Oil, all the sponsors, Safety Clean, that was here passing out samples today, and just thank you.
Here's a look at the points with just 2 hooks left in the season now, as Justin Wagler certainly has a stranglehold on this one. Just needs to stay consistent. He should be able to wrap it up. Mark Wells, Brett Hackstadt, Chad Russell, and Michael Gerlach rounding out your top 5. That'll wrap up the Limited Pro Stock category. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back. Some more great point action. Stay with us. The Hot Rod Semis are next. It's a beautiful night here at the Optima Batteries Kern Capital Fall Nationals, presented by K&N Filters. We're in Ellsworth, Wisconsin. Fans have shown up to watch the best go at it, and coming out next will be a fan favorite category. It is the Hot Rod Semis. Lonnie Saylor's going to kick it off with a truck called Holy Smokes. And the needle nose Pete throws a big number up on the board, 333 and 25.
Yeah, I love seeing that custom grill and, of course, the intake on these huge turbos. And, you know, we see some in the category that are single turbos, some that are multi and multiple different stages out here. So really the sky's the limit as long as you meet just a few of the qualifications for this class. And he's a guy that shows up at our pulls up north. He's a card in the pits. You kind of got to watch out for him. He's a little bit of a joker out there. But when it comes to pulling on the track, he's always laying down a tough pass.
Here's a look at the pulling order for the Hot Rod Semis, and a handful of these guys also chasing points. Just 2 left inside of the season, including this one here tonight.
This is critical for Ryan DeBro, our reigning champion and playing with fire, and of course Chris Wood, a former class champion, driving Class Act, because they better bring their A game on day 1, because this is where it counts, because they've got to kind of set the standard for the weekend to try to get it done. And, you know, I had a chance to catch up with Ryan earlier today and talk about his game plan for the weekend.
So when we talked to Ryan DeBrew at Hillsboro, Wisconsin, you told us how challenging the season has been for you on parts. And so as a driver, do you start to think about changing maybe your driving style to try to save some of those parts, or do you just kind of stay the course?
You're not going to get anywhere trying to save stuff. You pretty much just have to let it rip. And since Hillsboro, luckily, it's just been little things. It's been regular maintenance stuff. It's not been the big ticket items that it's been at the beginning of the year. That was getting old fast.
Yeah, but this weekend you're a little bit closer to home. I should say a lot closer to home. You didn't have to drive, tens of hours to get here. So does that make a little bit of a difference too? Take a little stress off of you?
Yeah, this week was more of a relaxed week, and get the truck ready and don't have to worry about a big haul out west or out east, I should say. And I love these Wisconsin pulls, so keep booking them. I love it.
He's been so solid for sure. The 2018 champ has had back-to-back podiums. In fact, has been on the podium the last 6 consecutive rounds.
Something's wrong right away, though.
For sure down a cylinder there, or maybe more, and tries to hang on to it as long as he can. He comes in here second in the points and just 10 points out of the lead of all times. For him to suffer a mechanical, this has to be the worst timing of all. Certainly had a shot at this championship here, so a tough go of it for Ryan DeBro. And there's a look at the points coming in here. As we were talking about, you mentioned Chris Wood before in the class act. As also being a former champion, he comes in here leading, looking to back that up and see if he can get another one under his belt.
I know Chris Wood is probably shaking his head at that run by playing with fire too, because that's not the way he wants to win it, and that's not the way he wants to make it a championship for him. And so he's still got to get business done, though, as the last hook of the class.
This is the jacked up truck. Last time we saw this truck was the second hook of the season at Freeport and finished up on the podium. Great looking ride. And that's exactly how they're supposed to run, as Jack Kielmeyer goes 291 and 58, however, well short by some 40 feet on the Holy Smokes truck.
Yeah, and I love to see the sparks coming out of the bottom of the truck. It just shows you how hard they're working that clutch to transfer all that power to those DOT tires. He's still got the traditional lean. We've seen in recent years guys get both front tires up off the ground. Here we just see that left front tire, and that's the way he's got his truck set up to push that power into the ground through those airbags as it's flexing back to that back of the tractor.
And another spectacular looking ride here called Just Passing Through. Pat Island doing the driving. And the Peterbilt planting all 8 of those DOT tires in the back and takes over the lead. 336. That is a massive number. 336 and 58.
So many sparks and just really working hard to get this distance. It's not a run with a lot of ground speed. We're talking about a lot of power going into the DOTs and just really methodical, good pulling going out there to stretch that run out. It was just a really long hook, and that can be hard on parts for guys too if they have to work their machine that hard for that long.
Just an absolutely spectacular looking truck, show worthy, as is this one for Jake Schroeder out of Dubuque, Iowa.
And this is the first time we're seeing the Lone Star on the circuit.
Shorter wheelbase as well. Tugs hard all the way down through there. Good looking hook. 255 and 55, though, is well short of where he needs to be.
A plumbing issue also off the starting line. That's why we saw that extra smoke right there behind the cab.
Fans packing in here at Ellsworth. First time we've been up here pulling with this category. So no notes for these guys to go off of in terms of dirt anyways. Atmospheric conditions, and take your best guess at it and see what you got. This is Chris Schroeder and the Crazy KW. Chasing points, comes in here 5th. Didn't get a win earlier this year. And my apologies, he is not chasing points, but still keeps that win. 299 and 65 will be the distance here, and that is good enough to jump up into 3rd place as it stands now.
You mentioned that this is the first time that we're pulling here, and this facility really expanded. The track that we're pulling on now here with our hot rod semis is the traditional pulling track where they do a lot of their local pulls up here, not national level pulls. And so some of these pullers, especially the Crazy KW from Cashton, Wisconsin, has pulled here before, so they've got a little bit of notes on it.
Here's a look at the water tower here in Ellsworth and your top three. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Just a couple of trucks yet to go here in our hot rod semi category at the Optima Batteries Kurt Capital Fall Nationals, presented by K&N Filters. Long-time truck on the tour here. This is Brenda Shanklin, and the truck known as Black Sheep comes in here third in the points, fresh off a podium just one hook ago. Wow! I've seen engine explosions, but I've never seen one so violent that it threw the entire engine out of the front of the truck. Holy smokes. That'll give you an idea of how much pressure these things are under.
And we've seen this happen in the hot rod semi category before, where they're making so much power that they actually split the block. And that's happened to the Black Sheep 2 other times. One, I know, at Hillsboro, Wisconsin. And so you can see that the hood and the windshield just gets plastered with oil. And so Brenda inside the cab doesn't have any idea what's going on in there when that's going on. And so she just knows that there's been an explosion. She knows that she's stopped. I don't think she realizes the severity of what's happened.
And you think about her feet, her legs down there just on the other side of that firewall. I mean, things could have been really, really bad. So thankfully she is okay. That's first and foremost. But what a violent explosion there.
At least she's got a smile on her face afterwards. And
she always does, right?
Always. I think that she's saying, sorry, Dad. I didn't mean to do that.
She is a sweetheart for sure. Tough go, but a lot of work to do to that one as we continue on here in the category. Last truck. This is your points leader. Class Act, Chris Wood has back-to-back wins working. Oh, and he's going to make it a hat trick. 3 consecutive wins here for our points leader. 344.82. What a massive number here.
This team has just really dedicated themselves to making their program better and pulling even harder this year to chase that championship. And speaking of the championship, he did exactly what he needed to do tonight to put some more distance between himself and Ryan DeBrew, the Playing with Fire machine, if he wants to try to take home the championship this year.
Wow, what a great season he is having, as that is his 5th podium, his 4th win, and 3 of those wins consecutively. As you take a look at the final numbers there, and some big numbers up on the board there, and some great looking equipment that came out here to compete as well at Ellsworth. Great to see those guys put the time and effort in those trucks. Let's go down to the podium and talk to Chris.
Well, we had to wait till the last hook of the class to find our winner tonight, and that's you, Chris Wood. How exciting for you to come out here and put a number like that on a field like this tonight?
There's no words to describe it. I mean, the guys have just been, they've got everything dialed in this year, and it's just been one of those summers.
Yeah, but you had to wait until the very end and see everybody else go, and there were some big distances. Did you decide to make any changes, or did you leave your setup the same as what you had it when you were in the pits?
There really wasn't much to do other than track position, and I didn't feel there was any options, so we just went with it. I was just hoping to outdrive them.
Yeah, another strong finish tonight for the Class Act.
Thank you.
And it was a 10-point spread coming in here. Chris will stretch that one out, put another 4 points on Ryan as they go into the final hook of the season. That will happen tomorrow right here at Ellsworth. So that'll wrap up the hot rod semi category. That brings us down to the last class, and it will be our 10,000-pound super modified tractors, the best in the business. The big boys in the big class are ready to play ball. We'll have them when we come back.
The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League is brought to you by Geico, saving people money on more than just car insurance. Super Clean, not just clean, super clean. And by Optima Batteries, the ultimate power source.
And we're back here at the Optima Batteries Kern Capital Fall Nationals presented by K&N Filters. Our third and final category that we'll cover here tonight at Ellsworth. And again, they have not competed here before, so no real notes to go off of. But these are the best in the business, the kings of the sport, if you will, and some of the most experienced of all time. That's a good look at our points leader, the Kentuckian, and Leslie spoke to him earlier.
It's a big weekend for Wayne Sullivan driving the Kentuckian because he's got a narrow 2-point lead in the points odds towards another championship. So what's your plan this weekend to sustain and come out of here with an edge going into Wheatland?
Oh, it would be great to come out here with an edge, and but we might not. I mean, the Boyd's is a great team, and they got an unlimited budget. I got a great team with a limited budget, but we don't want to it ain't just me and Boyd. I mean, we got the Longs is on striking distance, and Shelton boys, they're right there too. So it's exciting. I'm glad to be a part of it and have a chance to win it. But if I don't win it, we'll give it a next shot next year. But I'm just tickled to death to be in this position to play with these big boys.
So far this year, except for one hook, when you've been in the seat, you've put it on the podium. So that's got to give you a little bit more confidence, and you're an early hook tonight. So how do you feel about that?
Well, yeah, I've fussed about not being an early hook all year because I've been up fifth all the time, sixth. But now here we are way up north, strange dirt, a different drag we pulled, and here I am set number one. I don't like it, but we'll give it our best shot and see what happens.
Be careful what you ask for. You want to go early? Okay, we'll let you go early at the track we've never been to before. Good luck. And we'll give everybody else a mark to follow with. But he's really good at what he does. Of course, 2015 champ. Don't count him out. And it'll be exciting to watch him put one together here. Well, you got a pretty good look at it. Looks like he popped the line off there right at the very end. Not sure that it hurt his distance any, but 283 and 15 could be a bit short here tonight. He rolled right down that right sideline, right to the very end.
You can tell there's a lot of bite on that side of the track, Ken. And so he's got to use a lot of brake to bring it back around. And so he lets it drift as far as he can, hits that brake about the 150 mark and keeps on turning it. And I'm hoping for his sake that it's just a line that blew off there, that there wasn't any kind of damage to the supercharger or something like that. Now, he's in a precarious position here as our test puller, because what if they change the sled here? What's he going to do? How's he going to get it fixed?
Yeah, and he's got to hope that it's not damaged, right? If, in fact, that's the case. As you take a look at the pulling order here, and I'd be blown away if he even had the option to drop it and come back, just knowing how hard it is on these power plants to come back so quickly in one of these categories. But boy, this championship is on the line. I mean, there's only 3 hooks left in the season, including tonight. So he needs everything he can possibly get, and that probably was not the best one based on it going off to the right-hand side and him getting back in the brakes hard. And this is his competition for the championship. 4 podiums in the last 3 consecutive. Also, the 2018 champ. This is the Green Streak Unlimited, 199 and 75, and that bodes well for Wayne Sullivan as Greg Boyd has struggled here.
I'm not sure exactly what happened. It sounded like there was a mechanical at the end, but it looks like he just couldn't get any bite on the track. As we take a look at those points that are oh so close, only 26 points separating the top 5. And with 3 hooks, it's really anybody's ball game. And Keith Long has been on a roll here, and he's climbed up to that 5th position. But check that out. Grayson Shelton just 12 points back. He could make that up here tonight.
This is Keith Long on the Lucas Oil Slick Mist back machine. And once again, Leslie had a chance to spend some time with him.
All right, so it was a little bit of a slow start to the season for Keith Long as he's breaking in this new chassis. And so when you have this many new parts on a vehicle, it takes a long time to break it in. Has it taken longer than you thought?
No, we've been consistent all year, and we've made some good passes. And then when we did mess up, it was usually my fault and driver's error or misjudging the track. And the tractors performed good this year. The Slick Mist tractors really come around and doing what we wanted to do.
Well, we know you're always tinkering, and so what kind of upgrades has you put on as you progress through the season to increase performance?
Well, we put the new superchargers from DMP on earlier in the year, and they really opened things up and made the motors a little more happy, and I think that's going to help us in the long run.
So that's yet to get another adjustment he's got to compensate for. If those motors are happy, that means they're making a lot of power. This cool air up here might help him do that also tonight.
Boy, and much like we saw Wayne Sullivan do, that thing goes off to the right-hand side pretty hard. He had to try and pull it back to the point that he finally had to get out of the throttle, and that run is going to end here way early at 180 and 31, and clearly this track that they have not been on before is throwing these guys some curveballs.
And the track that they're pulling on is actually a newer track. And so we saw the hot rod semis pull on the traditional pulling track, which means that dirt has been seeded in. It's been there a long time. This is newer dirt, and so it doesn't have that seasoned advantage of being put together well.
This is Steve Boyd, father of Greg Boyd, who went just 2 tractors ago. And needless to say, these guys are sharp. I mean, multiple championships won underneath the umbrella of the Boyds. And no doubt Greg going to Dad Steve and making some quick adjustments. And the tractor, they started off on the right-hand side, but it stayed a little bit straighter. He ends up at 266 and 97.
And he really whipped the sled sideways behind them. It looked like there was also a lot of trouble on the right bank of those engines, lots of extra fuel spraying out. And we know that Steve Boyd makes good power. Now the question with this track being a little bit mealy that we saw with our limited pro stock tractors a little bit earlier, is it going to be too loose? And are these guys going to have too much power to pour into the track?
Grayson Shelton with the Ruckus machine coming up here next. Brother of Reese. This distance comes in at 247 and 64, the front end up, and just burns those massive rear tires in right at the very end.
And I kept my eyes fixed on his right hand, and it looked like it barely moved. And so these guys are seeing that they've got too much power. You know, these guys making in excess of 10,000 horsepower. And so just trying to give it enough throttle to keep it going, to hook up to the track, to really feel it as it's hooking up so that they don't overpower it, because if they do, you're just going to see those big 30.5 tires just spin and they're not going to go anywhere.
And of course you can see some of the class pullers there watching their competition go at it. And the Shelton boys, I mean, they're so talented. They already have a ton of experience despite their young age, many ride experience, but really coming out of that two-wheel drive category has taught them a lot, especially when it comes to throttle control. This is the bank robber. And Doug Lively will end up with a distance of 225 and 57, but one of the straighter hooks that we've seen.
But check out how much dirt is piled up between those rear tires and the sled, and that's really a telltale sign for what's going on in the category right now.
There's a look at the top 3 as they battle for this championship at 2019. Welcome back to the Optima Batteries Curd Capital Fall Nationals presented by K&N Filters. Covering the super modified tractors as you take a look at the multi-time champ. Behind the wheel of the dirt slinger, that is Bill Leishner. Again, just very seasoned eyes. Not much this guy hasn't seen along the way.
And if somebody can figure it out, I think it's really going to be him. At this point, he's got to watch enough tractors that he should have a good handle on it.
Well, he is the first tractor that we've seen pick up the front end like that and try to plant those huge back tires, and it's going to pay dividends. 269 and 78 is good enough to jump up into second place.
And it sounded like he may have fattened up those engines a little bit to slow them down, a little less horsepower, but it doesn't look like the butterflies are very wide open either. And so he's really doing a good job controlling the throttle to try to get that power into the ground. Wayne Sullivan made a great point earlier as well. The sled that they're pulling tonight is not a sled that they've ever pulled on the Champions Tour circuit. This is the first time on the Champions Tour they've pulled that. So it's going to react a little bit different. It's probably set up a little bit differently as well. And so they've got to make compensation for that too.
It's for sure putting everybody to the test. I guess if you're going to put them on a new track, you might as well give them a new sled and let them take some new notes. And that is Ricky Long with the Lucas Oil Racing TV sponsored machine. 239 and 51 is the mark.
A better effort than the team tractor. But, you know, he's in that position where he's tied for fourth place. And so that was a really critical run for the tractor to try to gain on some points.
And this is the other half of the Shelton camp here. Reese doing the driving. We saw his brother Grayson a little bit earlier. Of course, a long-time relationship with General Tire. And once again, Leslie spoke to him.
Well, Reese Shelton sits in third place so far, but it seems like he's hit a little bit of a plateau. So what's the consistency here with these fifth place finishes in the last four events?
It's always been said that, you know, a top five wins a championship. But, you know, that's not the case this year. Everybody's running real well, and if you don't not, you got to be in the top three to win a championship this year. I've never seen a mod class this stacked, and so we got to step up our game here a little bit for the last three hooks. We're not too far out of the points lead, so we're going to do what we can. We've got these sassy racing engines tuned up for this event, but we're really just got to get back to what we know here in the mid part of the season. We started running a little bit of everybody else's game, watching other people's tractors and sort of what they're doing. And that's not how you need to pull. So we're back to what we know and back to what we know about our tractors, and hopefully we can put these things out front this weekend.
3 podiums, including a win at Henry, and just missed the podium 1 hook ago at Hillsboro. And I don't know if he lost a power plant in there, if he chose a gear that was just a little too high. Whatever the case it was, it pulled those engines down very early on in this hook.
And I focused on the tires, which have been critical all season in this category. You know, everybody's talking about the Modifies tires, and the Sheltons were the first one to put those to the test. And those tires back there, 140 mile per hour wheel speeds. And so when they're digging that hard, they've got that bar on them. They're throwing back all that dirt. It's getting under the sled. It's getting in front of the buckboard. And it's really creating extra drag for them. But it did sound really funny. And I think that could be also him just not getting it high enough on RPMs to clean up and sound right and function well.
As we continue on here, this is Galen Bargy driving the Judge Next Generation. Of course, the 3-turbine engine machine. On a respectable effort here out of these guys tonight. 251 and 63 will put them up in the hunt.
And it was a solid-looking pull for the team, too. And so I don't think that they can really be down on that effort with the way that the tractor launched from the line. It picked up the front end, and these guys have really tried to be ingenuitive this year to get those turbines to hook up, because it's no secret in the class that they're down a little bit on power from the automotive reciprocating engines. You know, these guys probably only making about 8,000 or 9,000 horsepower, if that's really down on power, if you want to talk about it, where the other guys are making in excess of 10. And so I think they're going to get some good data from that run to use in one day.
Well, it's a good effort. It'll sneak him into 4th place and just outside of your top 3 that you're looking at there.
The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League is brought to you by General Tire. Anywhere is possible. Rhino Ag. Born to lead. And by Lucas Oil, made in America, sold to the world.
Once again, we're back here at the Optima Batteries Kern Capital Fall Nationals presented by K&N Filters. Great to be here at Pierce County Fairgrounds and Ellsworth, Wisconsin. Just 2 tractors left to go inside of the category as Dave Walsh will be behind the wheel of both of them. This one's called Simon Says. And not quite as far as we saw the judge go with his turbine machine. He'll end up at 234.07.
Lots of smoke from that right turbine, too. And you can see Wayne Sullivan, you didn't think he was going to hold on to that lead with that effort, and he was really worried about that and, just kind of shaking his head here at the track conditions.
Yeah, now it looks like he might go out of here with a win after all that. One tractor yet to go. Dave Walsh would like to change that. We'll find out how he does. And both tractors will end up relatively close to each other here as he ends up with a distance of 2:12 and 54. So really making a run at the back-to-back efforts there with those 2 team tractors, both of them being turbines, and kind of strange how the pulling order ended up with all 3 turbine tractors ending up at the end of the category, one after the next. But let's go down to the podium and talk to our winner and our points leader, Wayne Sullivan.
Well, Wayne Sullivan picks up the win tonight and just keeping that train rolling on this points race as we come down to the final stretch.
Yes, that was quite a shower tonight. I pulled first and laid it down. I thought a decent run. I thought it might get me to the top 5. And I blew a blower off, but the track was awful tricky. And I think, the guy got second. I've been pulling against him. He's an old tricky veteran too, so I think the old boys kind of done good tonight. And I hate to win like that, but a win's a win. We're excited.
Oh yeah, you take them any way you can get them out here, especially in this category as we take a look at the final order here with Wayne Sullivan up top. And yeah, another veteran right there nipping on his heels. That is Bill Leischner. Steve Boyd, another veteran out here in pulling. So yeah, the older guys out here showing their experience can pay off.
Well, Bill Leischner, it seems like tonight you had to dig back into the coffers there and come up with some of your old school pulling knowledge to drive it down the track. What was the knowledge that you checked into to try to get your mod down the track tonight?
Well, it's kind of like driving a 2-wheeler. You had to kind of baby it coming out of there, and we had to give it some fuel and tune it a little bit different. And you definitely drive it. It couldn't take power to get down there, and it was. I thought I could go 300 feet, but I couldn't. I get down there, and it just tires wanted to break loose. But the Steelett Dirt Slinger was doing good, and the new Modifies tires seemed to work. I mean, we had all the weight on the front end come up high, so it's kind of a strange combination when you can't go forward, but the front end's going up. It was just tickled to death to get second place in this group. We're pretty lucky.
Let's take a look at the points with just 2 hooks left in the season. Wayne Sullivan now with an 18-point gap. Came in here with 2-point lead, so this is a good points-paying night for him. Shelton there in third, and then still a tie for 4th and 5th, but now between Ricky Long and Reese Shelton. Let's go back down to the podium and talk to Steve.
What's another podium here for Steve Boyd and the green streak on this new chassis. And, it seemed like you had things going really well at Hillsboro when you picked up that win, and kind of continuing here with another podium.
Well, yeah, it takes a lot of luck. No matter how good you are at something, it takes a lot of luck. And the good thing is we got a wonderful class of people in here. Wayne's a ball. Nobody wants to get beat, but, Wayne, he makes it fun, and we got a lot of people in our class that way. Just a lot of fun. I need to thank Lucas Oil for sponsoring our tractors, and thank this place here for putting it all on. Ellsworth, it's a water facilities, really nice place. And unfortunately, the track wasn't the best, but that's part of pulling. So happy we done good as we did.
Never miss a pull. Go to propulling.com/set reminder to add all of the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League airings to your personal calendar. Receive a calendar reminder minutes before each event airs.
Well, it was an absolute pleasure to come up here and bring the best in truck and tractor pulling to Ellsworth, Wisconsin. They were a wonderful host. Remember, you can always keep up with the latest action at propulling.com. Hope you enjoyed all the great action from all three categories. For Leslie Mears, I'm Ken Stout. Thanks for watching the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League.